Hello, I am Super Orange Cat, and here I am with Toonami's ratings from November 9th, 2019. Let's start with the top of the block. The dub premiere of Season 4 of My Hero Academia is at a .20. One Punch Man Season 2 is at a .19. Doctor Stone is at a .18. Fire Force is at a .17. Food Wars is up to a .16. Demon Slayer at a .17. Black Clover at a .15. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind at a .15. Naruto Shippuden at a .15. Lupin Third Part 5 at a .12, and a rerun of Attack on Titan at a .09. In general, it's a complicated week to analyze, but let's just say this was a bit of a good week, at least in my opinion, the more I think about it. Now, might say, well, My Hero Academia got a .20 at the start of the block. This is actually tied with the worst rating that the lead-in for Toonami has ever gotten. And even compared to my own analysis, my own prediction was that My Hero Academia would get a .22 this past week. But it's not necessarily about that show. It's about the whole block as a whole. And every single show that's returning from last week, so every show except for Attack on Titan, actually went up this week from its number the previous week. Albeit it's kind of cheating when you're talking about My Hero Academia because it's a new episode and it moved from 4 o'clock to 11 o'clock, so of course it's going to go up 13 hundredths of a point from .07 to .20. But I mean, every other show after it went up, albeit most only by a small amount, but it's going in the right direction. And also another thing to note is just how rock solid the stability of the ratings of the block is. Like before Loop on the Third, so we have like 9 shows. In a period of 9 shows, the ratings total in total only go down 5 hundredths of a point. And as far as I can see, only one time does it actually drop by more than 1/100th at a time, which is it's something I'm going to go into in a moment when I get there. So let's go show by show. You have One Punch Man. It went up 1/100th to a .19. Albeit this episode I didn't really like that much. It's a lot of people, like I've mentioned this like every week video, but every like a lot of people said that One Punch Man season 2 never lived up to the hype. It's not as good as season 1. And up until this past week, I would have strongly disagreed with them because I thought, and honestly, I still think it's a good season so far, but they're just showing all their cards early, at least it seems. So don't spoil me if you've seen the whole season yet. But I mean, you have this whole thing where we already know all the monsters have formed their own union and they're planning on like a day when they all attack at the same time to overwhelm the heroes and kill them. And that's kind of already been shown. I already know what the main villain's going to be, the guy who's, hey, I'm a human hunter, I'm a hero hunter. I'm weird, I'm strong, I hunt people, and that's kind of been his thing. And it's just all kind of played out. While, like, in season 1, we didn't really know about the alien invasion until the last few episodes, where all the heroes had to get together and start fighting, even though Saitama did 90% of the reasonable work. Like, Saitama did 90% of the work, and, like, Tornado did, like, 9%, and the last 1% was divided up against the other 20 heroes that were, like, trying to do something. But I digress. Enough about One Punch Man for now. You have Doctor Stone at a .18, up 1/102, doing pretty well. 1.18. If you talk about like how hyped Doctor Stone was when Toonami got it, you would hope it would get at least .20 consistently, but it's been pretty steady like a stone or like a rock since it's been picked up. It's kind of always been on the high teens, and this case is no exception. Then you have after that Fire Force, which is kind of blends in now. Like it had so much hype going for it when it was first picked up. Albeit, I think the biggest factor that really killed the hype was the Kyoto animation fire because it was like the big show, and then you kind of have this tragedy that involved fire, which was the worst possible thing that can really happen to an anime about fire, which is just like tough luck. And I think I read somewhere that the Blu-ray sales for it in Japan were like abysmally low, and many people attributed it to the Kyoto animation fire. So not many things going Fire Force's way, but in Toonami this week it went up 2/100ths to a .17. almost retains everything that Dr. Stone had, so reasonably decent week here. And then you have Food Wars. Food Wars, a show which I'm still certain will eventually get the Hunter x Hunter treatment, where it slowly slides down the block until it ends as being the very last show on the block. It goes up 2.2 to 0.16, but we still got 40 something episodes left of it. It's gonna slide down the block, especially if it doesn't ever build on shows before, which I don't think, at least it hasn't in the last like 7, 8 weeks. So not really the best of luck, not really the best of numbers for Food Wars, but relative to last week, it's an improvement. And then you have, my opinion, the big winner of this week, Demon Slayer. Everyone complained, including me, when it first came out. It was at 130, and it debuted to a point like 16, and it immediately dropped to like a point 12. But it has since then slowly built up to the point where it's now at a point 17, giving it the honor of being the only show, maybe one, yeah, one of the only two shows actually that built on the show before it this week. I think this is the first time Demon Slayer is built on the show in front of it at a point 17. I can see why, based on what's happening in the show, because action is actually starting to happen now. You have an episode which has a bit of action, has a bit of plot, and it feels like the show is finally starting to get moving. And although I'm still not really hooked on it, it's starting to, I guess, show some signs of why it became this huge cultural phenomenon. Like, I think I mentioned it in last week's video. It's now surpassed not One Punch Man, surpassed One Piece in manga sales in Japan, which, let's just say, is a very, very high achievement to get over there. Or as it's known there, Kimetsu no Yaiba. Probably murdered that pronunciation. But then after Demon Slayer, you have Black Clover. It goes up 1/100th this week to a point 0.15. This is the only instance before Lupin the Third where the ratings drop by more than 1/100th, but it's still up from last week, and it's kind of been hanging around the number Black Clover's been getting a lot, so not really a bad week for Black Clover. Then after that, you have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind, the co-winner of the week, I guess, alongside of Demon Slayer. It's slightly, by like a few viewers, built on Black Clover, and it holds the same rating at a 0.15. It goes up 3/100ths from last week. The first week or two, it had been barely over 0.10, and now it's starting to slowly climb up. So maybe, like, this is hoping against hope here. If it can build another hundredth or two, maybe builds on Black Clover, it might get ahead of Black Clover. But considering the fact that JoJo has, at least in very recent history, kind of been back to the block style show in Toonami, I don't have that much faith in it ever really getting out of this position. After this, you have Naruto Shippuden up 4/100ths to a 0.15. Just kind of given up on trying to analyze Shippuden's ratings because they seem to flow up and down at will at this point. It doesn't necessarily follow what the rest of the block is doing. I guess it's very dependent on what's happening in that specific episode. And since I don't personally follow Shippuden, I can't tell you why. But at a 0.15, which means I don't have here, but it could have possibly actually built on Golden Wind, which built on Black Clover, which would be hilarious to me analyze. But one more thing to keep in mind too is, since it is a 3 o'clock premiere, it does get the next day DVR viewing added into its numbers. So it is slightly inflated. That could explain the fact that it had 51,000 more total viewers than Golden Wind got, which is plausible. And then after that, you have Lupin the Third at a 0.12, up 4/100ths, but it's definitely the black sheep of the block. It's never going to pull in the ratings that the bigger names up front are going to get. It's just kind of there. It's kind of like the only the cool kids like this type of show, type of anime. It's kind of like the show. Like, I admit, I'm a fan of Lupin the Third, and I'm one of these people. I'm like, well, you like your My Hero Academias and you like your Doctor Stones, but true gentlemen watch Lupin the Third, and I'm someone who does that too. Which, it's a good show, like, and I can understand why people don't necessarily like it. It's more, it's it's action, but it's like it's not action in the way where you have like My Hero Academia where it's like this full on OP attack each other, or like how Dragon Balls always were like OP attack versus OP attack. Lupin the Third's a bit more of a. I'm not gonna say, oh, it's smarter than your show. It's kind of like I mentioned, like episode like 6, 7 episodes ago, right? Okay, I'm gonna go into a little bit of a tangent here. You have Fujiko Mine, right? Like she shows up in like a lab coat, and like you can see her like her panties underneath, right? And it's like a room full of men. Note, she comes unarmed to the situation, and like all the other men and that like 6, 7 other men all have guns and stuff, right? But what she does is that she figures out, how can I beat them without using weapons? Oh, use my sexuality. So she like lures the guys in and like touches all of them like with her hands in some way. So all of a sudden the power gets shut off, and she had like a marker in her hands so that all the men were marked. So then someone else, I forgot if it was Lupin or someone else, with a gun outside was able to pick them off, which I thought was very smartly done. And it just really shows to like the level of writing that Monkey Punch put into the manga. Rest in peace. But that's just my tangent for now. It's a really good show. And then you have Attack on Titan. It's a rerun at a point oh 0.09. I think this was the very first episode of Attack on Titan they reran, which, I mean, it's just there to be at the end of the block. There's no, as far as I'm aware, season 4 of Attack on Titan isn't coming anytime soon. So, I mean, it's a place filler at 4:30. That at 4 o'clock actually. So that's all it really is. And overall, this was, I'll say, although a bit of a disappointing number for My Hero Academia season 4, which I attribute to the fact that it's only like 2 or 3 weeks behind the actual sub airing. So if you really, 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 really love My Hero Academia, you probably just watched the first episode back when it first came out on Hulu, and you've really just like, you're not going to rewatch it 2 weeks later just because in English. And that's why I think it didn't really have that impressive a number. But again, rock solid retention throughout the night, which I think should be seen as the highlight for Toonami. I'll say it's a decent week. What are your guys' opinions? What's your favorite show on the block? Leave your comments down below. I love reading them. If you like this content, if you want more like Toonami, if you want more ratings content like this, please like this video. Please subscribe and hit that notification button. I'm Super Orange Cat, and that is all.